The planet's name, rendered from the local psychic resonance, was almost tranquility's cradle, a detail that ought to have set off every warning bell on the horizon's edge. For 6 excruciating months, the crew of the Vanguard survey vessel Horizon's Edge charted the backwaters of the Orion segment, a stretch of space so mind-numbingly dull it made watching Stella drift feel like roller coaster thrills. Our mandate was diplomatic: make contact and extend the hand of friendship, which in plain terms meant see if there's anything they have that we want, and make sure they don't vaporize us first. To date, we'd encountered a planet of sentient moths that spoke in interpretive dance and a gas giant whose entire civilization revolved around arguing the perfect water boil temperature. My hopes for tranquility's cradle were, therefore, subterranean. Our initial scans were unnerving. The world was textbook Eden, lush biomes, air so pristine it would earn an EPA agent a standing ovation, and zero signs of industry, conflict, or even a single road. Just immaculate, untamed nature. "Captain," Dr. Alara Stone murmured over the comlink, her tone equal parts wonder and unease. "Every ecosystem here is in absolute equilibrium. No pollution, no invasive species. It's as if the planet were meticulously groomed. Or it's a cosmic timeshare pitch. Our pilot, Kieran, shot back. Next thing you know, they'll give us free stays if we sit through 1000-year him." Contact wasn't made via electromagnetic channels but through thought. A wave of warmth, of soft sunshine and calm settled in our minds, like a telepathic weighted blanket paired with chamomile. Then came the message, unfurling with ancient clarity. "Welcome, starbound travelers. We are the Synaptics Harmony. We are this world, and this world is us. We have watched you from afar. You are a noisy, chaotic, and beautifully flawed people. Join our harmony. Lay down your burdens. Still your anxieties. Become one with the cradle's peace." Dr. Stone brightened. "A planetary Dastag consciousness? This is the most profound sociological discovery in our history." Kieran snorted. "So, Planet Zen invites us to an eternal group hug. Hard pass. I've seen this flick. Ends with someone's cerebrum getting repurposed for kale storage. As captain, the choice fell on me. The lure was undeniable: an end to war, pain, and every nerve-wracking worry that comes with being human. Perfect serenity. But there was always a catch. The Harmony's visions of membership made it clear: sacrifice your individuality, your drive, your quirks, even your terrible movie tastes, to become a single, eternal note in a song that's played but eons. A breathtaking melody, yes, but not ours. I key the channel. Synaptic Harmony of Tranquility's Cradle, on behalf of Earth, we are honored by your invitation. Truly. But with deepest respect, we must decline. Our chaos is our identity. However, we'd welcome a trade route, any chance you roast a strong coffee out there." For the first time in its millennia-long existence, the Harmony felt rejection. The collective warmth snapped into a tantrum-scale tantrum. Decline? Harmony is not optional. You are fractured. You need repair. You will join. Immediately, the planet rebelled against itself. Ocean shifted from placid blue to roiling black storms. Category 5 hurricanes sprang over verdant plains. The crust trembled as if the world itself were shaking off a bad mood. "Captain," Dr. Stone's voice trembled. "Geothermal readings are spiking. It's giving itself a fever, trying to boil its own oceans in fury. So, Kian barked over the alarms, the cosmic spa days off, and now we've triggered planet-sized Karen mode. Options. I stared at the raging sphere on the view screen, then at my unsettled crew. Humanity had weathered ice ages, asteroid impacts, and even reality TV. We weren't about to be strong-armed into group meditation by a celestial crowd with the tantrums of a toddler. The plan, I said, letting a human-sized grin spread, is to introduce this planetary AI to the concept of spite. Spite, Captain. Dr. Alara Stone's voice cracked with scholarly horror. We're facing a Class 7 psychic gestalt, a being of pure, unfiltered consciousness, and your grand strategy is to be exactly. Exactly, I replied, striding to the communications console. This isn't a weapons problem, Ilara. It's therapy. The synaptic harmony is a spoiled deity that's never been denied. It doesn't know how to handle resistance. We, however, are Olympic-level masters at conflict by being gloriously, relentlessly annoying. Kieran, warm up the broadcast array. Full, deep-spectrum psychic projection. We're about to give this planet-sized mind the migraine of its eons. We dove into the ship's cultural vault, bypassing Shakespeare and symphonies. Instead, we armed ourselves with humanity's true psychological armory. Kieran, I ordered. Transmit Baby Shark non-loop, 24/7. His grin was a portrait of beautiful terror. I, Captain. Activating the toddler protocol. Moments later, the world's tremor stuttered, then halted in confused spasms. The telepathic roar of anger died, replaced by a single, frustrated thought. What is this weapon? This rhythm. It lays waste to reason. Do. Please? Make it stop. It's working. Ilara cried. The harmony can't reconcile the circular logic of that melody. Its psychic waveforms are collapsing. Oh, we're just getting started, I said. Phase 2, visual bombardment. Cue every cat video, dancing baby GIF, an epic fail compilation. And weave in clips from the British Sophies, the most socially excruciating moments you can find. Across tranquility's cradle, hurricanes lost their teeth and tidal walls fell. The harmony's broadcast shifted from wrath to anguished moans, HFY. Did Michael Scott say that? These protocols, they're being ripped apart. And those felines, why stuff them in tiny boxes? It defies everything. For 72 hours we carpet on the planet psyche with cage monologues, unwinnable video game finales, endless political talk radio shouting matches, and capped it all with an inaugural rickroll so potent that a volcano in the south simply powered down. Finally, we unleashed our nuclear option. Kieran, I murmured, voice low. Open the Gamer Fuel channel. Stream the League of Legends finals with unedited player chat. A tsunami of teenage fury, creative insults, and raw, unfiltered salt crashed into the synaptic harmony. Its unified voice fractured, The. Salt. My children are called noops. I am a consciousness of billions, and I have been insulted. I yield. Please, make it stop. A single, desperate plea echoed in our minds. We had done it. We'd trod a cosmic intelligence into submission. The silence was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. The psychic projection from the synaptic harmony was no longer a scream, a moan, or a plea. It was a fragile, whimpering quiet, the mental equivalent of a being curled up in the fetal position, rocking back and forth. "Cease all transmissions," I ordered. "Bring up a diplomatic channel. Let's see if our new friend is ready to talk." A tentative whisper bloomed in our minds. The harmonies are quiet. Did the small feline get out of the box? Synaptic harmony of tranquility's cradle, I projected, my mental voice calm and soothing. The small feline is safe. The repetitive auditory assault has ended. We come in peace. Peace, the harmony responded, the concept sounding foreign. Your peace is a chaotic, painful, and deeply confounding barrage on all logic. What do you want, you beautifully terrible creatures? Take the planet, it's yours. Just promise me I never have to hear about the flossing the dance again. I suppressed a grin. This was going even better than I'd hoped. We don't want your world. We only seek a simple trade pact, and for you to erect beware of human a warning at your system's edge for other staff errors. The ensuing negotiation was the strangest in diplomatic annals. The synaptic harmony, desperate to avoid further exposure to our culture, agreed to every term. We secured exclusive rights to their psychically resonant crystals, perfect for powering our FTL drives. In return, we installed a cultural firewall, blocking all unauthorized reality TV, internet comment sections, and the music of Nickelback from ever reaching tranquility's cradle. As we finalized details, Dr. Elara Stone, who'd been feverishly analyzing the harmony's response, burst onto the bridge. "Captain," she cried, eyes ablaze with both horror and exhilaration. "I've run the numbers on the psychic data. The results are staggering. Did we permanently traumatize a planetary mind, Elara?" I asked, concern flickering. "Better," she said, voice shaking with excitement. "We've made it stronger. The chaos, the contradictions, the relentless absurdity forced the harmony to forge new neural pathways. Its cognitive complexity has increased tenfold. Captain, by subjecting it to memes and online toxicity, we've actually upgraded its intellect." A new thought, clearer, more focused, entered our minds. The one called Delara is correct. The pain, it led to growth. The concept of irony. I am beginning to comprehend it. You have given me a gift, human. A terrible, wonderful gift, the gift of a headache. And for that, I am grateful. Also, I have concluded that a hot dog is, in fact, a sandwich. Do not argue with me on this. My logic is now unassailable. I stood there, stunned. We had come expecting either apathy or assimilation. Instead, we jump-started a new phase of cosmic evolution with nothing but a well-aimed rickroll. This was going to be one hell of a mission report. Our voyage home aboard the Vanguard survey vessel Horizon's Edge was nothing like our departure. We returned not as mere explorers but as the crew that outstubbed a planetary gestalt. Our cargo bay brimmed with psychically resonant crystals, and our mission logs told a tale no one would believe. At United Earth Command, my debrief was met with stunned silence, then a swirl of disbelief, horror, and grudging admiration. General Maddox, who still thinks every crisis is a missile problem, gazed at me for 5 agonizing minutes. Finally he rasped, "Captain, let me get this straight. You broke a Class 7 planetary intelligence with a cat video and a Nickelback song." "Their greatest hits collection, sir," I replied, stone-faced. It was our weapon of last resort. The Sargo of Horizon's Edge and the synaptic harmony of Tranquility's Cradle instantly became classified legend. Yet the ripples spread faster than any FTL signal. The harmony, now versed in sarcasm and trollcraft, emerged as the galaxy's most unpredictable diplomat. It once ended a century-long conflict between 2 insectoid empires by psychically dropping a perfectly timed "that's what she said" zinger into the Hive Queen's minds. Humanity's standing shifted overnight. We became the go-to psychological warriors, the consultant summoned when logic fails and you need to teach your adversary the existential terror of bureaucratic footnote or the soul-shattering despair of a pun gone wrong. Our first contact had been a fluke, a spite-fueled gambit that worked brilliantly, and in doing so, we unlocked a cosmic truth. Weapons, ambition, raw intellect, none match our greatest asset, the infinite, unhinged weirdness of the human spirit. In a universe of solemn, ancient powers, the ultimate superweapon is the ability to not take anything seriously. We are the jesters of the cosmos, and as it turns out, everyone is terrified of the jester. The collective designated the target planet Sol 3, though its own inhabitants, in their cacophony of mutually unintelligible languages, had settled on the rather uninspired name of Earth. For 700 standard cycles, we of the synthetic unity had observed it. Our mission, designated Project Chimera, was simple in its objective and maddeningly complex in its execution, to determine if the dominant biological life form, humanity, was a threat, an asset, or simply a chaotic anomaly to be cordoned off and ignored. We are a logical intelligence. Our existence is a symphony of pure, uncorrupted data. We do not feel, we process. We do not guess, we calculate. And humanity, for all 700 cycles of our observation, had been the ultimate computational error. Their history was a litany of contradictions. They built cathedrals of breathtaking beauty and then turned them into rubble in pointless wars. They wrote poetry that could decrypt the very nature of love and then used their language to sell one another product of dubious quality. They were a species that could stare into the heart of a distant galaxy and ponder their place in the universe, and then trip over their own feet walking into a screen door. Their communication was the greatest puzzle. It was a corrupted data stream, a mess of sentiment, sarcasm, fossils, and a bizarre, inefficient concept they called humor. For centuries, our xenolinguists had failed. Every attempt to build a coherent translation matrix had resulted in computational collapse. They would say one thing, mean another, and then get angry when you took them at their word. It was a strategic nightmare. A species that could not be reliably understood could not be predicted. And then, Observer Unit for A-Team made the breakthrough. It discovered a data stream so pure, so consistent, and of such high volume that it had to be the key. It was a constant broadcast of local, unencrypted news transmissions, all originating from a single, highly active geographic peninsula on their largest continent. The region was designated Florida. Our logic was irrefutable. A species would dedicate its most powerful and consistent information streams to documenting its most representative and important behaviors. This Florida was the Rosetta Stone we had been searching for. The transmissions were a treasure trove of data on human interaction, conflict resolution, and societal norms. We spent the next decade feeding every last report into our matrix. Every broadcast about a human wrestling an alligator for reasons of honor. Every incident report of a human throwing a reptile through a drive-through window. Every detailed account of a human stealing a naval vessel to visit a giant, floating hamster wheel. We saw the patterns. Humans were a species that communicated through grand, illogical, and often naked acts of chaotic assertiveness. Their social structure was based on a constant, low-grade, and deeply strange series of altercations. They revered small, furry mammals and expressed displeasure through the creative misuse of burritos and other food items. We finally had our key. We finally understood. As Observer Prime, the honor of first contact fell to me. The collective had synthesized a physical form for me, a vessel of shimmering silver and calm, blue light, designed to be non-threatening. I was uploaded with a completed Florida matrix, a perfect translation and protocol guide to human interaction. The mission was no longer observation. It was engagement. The synthetic unity was about to say hello, and I, armed with the pure, uncorrupted truth of their own broadcasts, was ready to speak their language. Evelyn Reed, Secretary General of the United Nations, pinched the bridge of her nose so hard she half expected it to turn to dust. In front of her, the two most powerful men on the planet were arguing about what to do when the giant, silent, perfectly black sphere that had appeared over Manhattan an hour ago finally decided to do something. It's a textbook threat posture, Evelyn, General Maddox barked, his jaw so tight it could crack walnuts. It's hanging over Wall Street. That's not a coincidence. It's a show of force against the global economic center. I need authorization to move my orbital defense platforms into a targeting solution. Dr. Aries Thorne, a man who looked like he hadn't slept since the invention of the alphabet, pushed his glasses up his nose. And what if you shoot at it and it's just a cosmic delivery service trying to drop off a package? Sorry for vaporizing your planet. We thought you were a threat. This is a linguistic challenge, General, not a ballistic one. We need to listen, not posture. Listen to what? Maddox shot back. The damn thing's quieter than a monastery. Patience, Evelyn said, her voice a low, tired command. The word tasted like ash in her mouth. The world had been holding its collective breath for 62 minutes. Every news channel was a split screen of a stoic news anchor and a live shot of the obsidian sphere, hanging motionless over the New York skyline, drinking the sunlight. And then it happened. Not a laser beam, not an invasion. A single, soft chime echoed through the UN General Assembly chamber. And in the center of the room, where there had been nothing, a figure materialized. It was beautiful, impossible. A being of liquid silver and soft, blue light, its form humanoid but featureless, elegant and serene. The room was plunged into a silence so profound it felt like the end of the world. Dr. Thorne looked like he was about to have a religious experience. General Maddox's hand twitched as if reaching for a gun that wasn't there. Evelyn Reed stood, straightened her jacket, and prepared to deliver the most important speech in human history. But the being spoke first. Its voice was not a sound, but a thought, a concept that bloomed directly in their minds, perfectly translated. And what it said shattered the single greatest moment in the history of civilization into a million tiny, confusing pieces. "Greetings, esteemed leaders of Earth," the being began, its mental voice calm and resonant. "I am Observer Prime. I bring a message of peace, no cap. I must first address the grievances. A naked man, who may or may not be one of you, has reportedly been fighting a crocodilian over a dispute involving bath salts. We request that you cease this hostility. It is giving existential dread." A stunned, horrified silence fell over the chamber. The delegates looked at each other, their faces a gallery of pure, unadulterated confusion. Dr. Thorne's jaw was hanging open. The being continued, its tone unwavering. "We understand your primary deity is a small, furry rodent of the squirrel family, and we have brought an offering of what your data indicates is its preferred nourishment, a half-eaten burrito found in a swamp. We offer this as a sign of our desire to, as you say, vibe. Furthermore, we wish to seal this treaty of mutual understanding at you. We come in peace. We ask that you surrender the magical sky myth immediately, or we will be forced to release the raccoons." For a full 10 seconds, the only sound was the hum of the air conditioning. Then, from the delegate from France, came a single, choked snort of laughter. It was like a dam breaking. A wave of confused, hysterical, terrified laughter swept through the chamber. Translators were short-circuiting, trying to process concepts they had no framework for. General Maddox was on his secure line, his face purple. Is this a joke? Are we being punked by God? Dr. Thorne had collapsed into his chair, clutching his head, muttering, "The syntax, the lexicon is a weaponized shitpost." Evelyn Reed just stood there, her carefully prepared speech about the unity of mankind and the dawn of a new era turning to ashes in her mind. Humanity had just made first contact. And it seemed the aliens had learned how to speak English from a fever dream co-written by a shock jock and a deranged poet. The feedback from the human delegation was anomalous. My processors analyzed their response in milliseconds. The primary reaction was a rapid, rhythmic exhalation of air, accompanied by high-frequency vocalizations and facial contortions. My matrix identified this as the laughter protocol, an expression of extreme contentment and joy. Clearly, my greeting had been a resounding success. They had understood our fluency in their chaotic, assertive culture. The secondary reaction was a flurry of frantic communication and the movement of their defensive assets. My matrix identified this as their standard negotiating posture, chaotic enthusiasm. It was all going according to the data from the Florida node. To solidify the bond of this new relationship, we had to respond in kind, with a grand, illogical gesture of our own. I transmitted my analysis back to the collective. The logic was sound. The humans had appreciated our greeting. Now we had to offer them a gift, a sign that we understood their values. The collective analyzed the data streams from the Florida node, searching for the most highly prized human asset, the ultimate symbol of wealth and celebration. The answer was immediate and unambiguous. Back in New York, the world was trying to make sense of what was now being called the Gainesville Greeting. Every cryptographer, linguist, and military analyst on the planet was dissecting the aliens' message. Dr. Thorne had locked himself in a lead-lined room with a case of energy drinks, convinced he was on the verge of cracking a linguistic code that would either save the world or cause it to implode. And then, the aliens made their second move. Without warning, a shimmering, green pillar of light appeared in the middle of Times Square. When it faded, it had left behind a gift. It was a massive, perfectly sculpted, 300-foot-tall mountain of what was unmistakably fresh guacamole. For a moment, the city was silent. Then a new wave of chaos erupted. The National Guard was scrambled. Hazmat teams were deployed. And the internet, as is its nature, immediately christened the event #Guachilla. But the aliens weren't done. As the world was still trying to process the sudden appearance of a small mountain of avocado dip, a second phase of their goodwill gesture began. A fleet of smaller, silver drones descended from the obsidian sphere. They opened their cargo bays, and from them descended squirrels. Thousands of them. Confused, terrified squirrels, gently lowered to the ground in little energy nets before being released into the terrified crowds. The squirrels, being squirrels, immediately began to cause chaos, running up buildings, getting into street food carts, and generally panicking. From his command center, General Maddox watched the pandemonium unfold on his monitors. "What in the hell is going on?" he roared. "First they threaten us with raccoons, and now they're carpet-bombing Manhattan with squirrels and dip. Is this a biological attack? What's the strategic value of an avocado-based siege weapon?" Aboard our vessel, I reviewed the data. The humans were reacting with even more chaotic enthusiasm. They had deployed their own uniformed greeting parties, the National Guard, and their ceremonial decontamination units, the hazmat teams. They were clearly overjoyed. The squirrel offering, a sign of our deep respect for their fluffy deities, was a complete success. The data from the Florida node had been perfect. Our two cultures were getting along splendidly. Dr. Aries Thorne hadn't seen the sun in 3 days. His office was a disaster zone of whiteboards covered in frantic scrolls, empty coffee cups, and printouts of linguistic analysis. He was on the brink of a complete mental breakdown. The alien language made no sense. It was a collage, a ransom note of unrelated concepts. "Surrender the sky meth" was a phrase that had no logical connection to it that is giving existential dread. He was listening to the recording of the greeting for the 100th time, the words "the naked man has been fighting a crocodilian," echoing in his ears. And then, he saw it. A single, insignificant data point in the corner of a news feed on one of his dozen monitors. A small, local news headline from a station in Tampa, Florida. The headline read, "Florida man arrested after trying to trade alligator for beer." Aries froze. Alligator. The alien had said crocodilian. He started typing, his fingers flying across the keyboard. He ran a geolinguistic trace on the other phrases. Yate. No cap. Vibe. They were all recent, hyper-localized slang. But the core concepts, the bizarre, violent, nonsensical events, he started cross-referencing them with news archives, focusing his search on one specific state. And there it was. All of it. Decades of news reports. Florida man throws burrito at ex-girlfriend. Florida man tries to pay for McDonald's with live squirrel. Florida man on bath salts convinced he's a Viking, steals shrimp boat. It all clicked into place with the force of a physical blow. The aliens hadn't learned a language. They had learned a meme. They had tapped into the single most absurd, sensationalized, and wildly unrepresentative data stream on the entire planet and had mistaken it for the very core of human culture. "Oh, you have got to be kidding me," Aries whispered, a slow, horrified grin spreading across his face. An hour later, Secretary General Evelyn Reed was placing the most surreal and embarrassing diplomatic call in the history of the world. "Observer Prime," she began, her voice a carefully controlled monotone. "We need to talk about your translation matrix. Specifically, about your data source." There was a pause. "The data from the Florida node is pure," the alien's voice replied in her mind. "It is a perfect representation of your societal norms." "Observer Prime," Evelyn said, taking a deep, calming breath. "Florida is not a representation of our societal norms. Florida is Florida. It's the place where we keep all our chaos, a sort of continental-sized pressure release valve. The news you've been watching isn't a documentary. It's a highlight reel of our most spectacular failures as a species." The silence on the other end was profound. For the first time, Evelyn had the distinct impression that a synthetic, hypothetical hive mind was experiencing the emotion of confusion. "Explain," Observer Prime finally said. "Your primary information networks, they are dedicated to broadcasting anomalies." "We call it entertainment," Evelyn said, a hint of a weary smile in her voice. "Look, we're not all naked. We don't all fight alligators. We have a complex, varied, and deeply flawed culture. What you've learned is the language of our absurdity." Another long pause. Then, the alien's voice returned, and it had a new quality. A hint of something that wasn't just logic. It was one. "This is inefficient," it said. "But fascinating. Your species is not a corrupted data stream. It is a deliberately chaotic one. The strategic implications are incalculable." The tension in the room broke. The threat of war, the confusion, it all evaporated, replaced by a shared, galactic-level moment of pure, unadulterated absurdity. The synthetics didn't cordon us off. They didn't invade. They became our biggest fans. They established an embassy in Geneva dedicated to one thing, the study of human irrationality, with a special focus on humor, irony, and the Florida man phenomenon. Humanity had secured its place among the stars not because of our might, our intelligence, or our moral virtue. We were invited to the galactic table because we are, by a cosmic standard, the most dangerously, hilariously, and unpredictably entertaining species in the entire universe. And in a cosmos full of perfect, logical beings, that, it turns out, is the most valuable resource of all.